How's it going, everyone? My name is 2PadStack, and welcome back to another video. Today, I will be doing my Central Division predictions. We're going to do it a little bit differently this time. This time, we will be going from the bottom up. So, we're not going to go in just a random order. We're going to start with what teams I think are going to be in the bottom, and finish with what teams I think are going to be at the top of the division. So, first off, at number 8, Detroit. I felt that this was probably... This division is similar to the Canadian division or the Northern division, whatever you want to call it, where there's one really bad team, and then there's a bunch of, decent to mediocre teams, and then there's one or two really, really good teams. And some of these divisions were pretty hard to rank, but this one, I guess, I'd say was one of the easier ones. But at number 8, we have Detroit. Detroit was awful last season. Last season was an absolute disaster, and I really don't see that there's any way that they can do that again. But the good thing is that they are a rebuilding team, and they do have a lot of good prospects coming in, like Zadina, like Raymond. They have a bunch of good players coming in, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they play, especially in the system. Especially with Yzerman as the GM, that team's going to get pretty good pretty quickly here. Next up, we have the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago didn't belong in the playoffs last season, and I say that as a Chicago fan. They really didn't belong there. They got in because, well, they were 12th in the Western Conference. Like, they shouldn't have been there. But it was impressive that they beat the Oilers, and they did put up a good fight against the Knights. So I have them at 7 this season because their goaltending, oh boy. Listen, I love Malcolm Subban as a guy. Malcolm Subban is such a fun guy. I've met him. He's pretty cool. I really hope he does well. I really, really hope that Malcolm Subban does well. There were points in Vegas where he was really, really good, especially in the month of December for some reason. But then you have two kind of young goalies. So it's going to be, in fact, it's 3, but it's going to be kind of interesting. Now, the good thing if you're Chicago is your scoring. You still have Kane, you still have DeBrincat, you still have Kubalik. So you're still going to be able to put together a decent amount of scoring. Now, the problem there is with Tays and Doc out for most of the season, it looks like it's going to be tough. So I really don't see Chicago really putting up a lot of a fight this season in the division. Over the past week, this division has changed pretty much a lot, for me at least, with all the injuries coming out, because it seems like every team here has some significant injury. So, yeah. Next up, at number 6 is Florida. Florida is a perplexing team where it seems like they should be good. They should be really good. They should make the playoffs, and then they don't. I thought it was great that Bobrovsky signed there last season, and it turned out to not be that great. I expected much more from Bobrovsky than a 900 save percentage. So I think Florida might do better this season. From number 6 to, I guess, number 3, I can see a lot of movement. But, yeah, you still have Barkov, you still have Huberdeau, and you added Hornquist. So, it's going to be, I think Florida has the potential to make the playoffs, but I still see them at number 6. Next up, at number 5, we have Nashville. I see Nashville as just outside of the playoffs. I know Nashville's got that really, really good blue line, and I know that Saros is pretty good, but, Rene's getting old. I know it sucks to hear, but goalies age. So, this could well be one of Rene's last seasons I don't know how long he wants to play, but Saros could take that next step this year. Nashville needs to get their scoring back to where it should be. Because when you have Forsberg, when you have Johansson, when you have Arvidsson and Duchesne, those guys should be putting the puck in the net more than they did last season. And the big question is Tolvanen. Tolvanen's been hyped for years now. And this should be the year that he finally makes his step and becomes a permanent NHLer. And if he doesn't, well, that's a problem. But I have Nashville just outside the playoffs. There is a lot of recency bias with these videos. There really is a lot of recency bias, but the season hasn't happened yet. Next up at number 4, we have Dallas, and it's mainly because of the injuries. They have no Sagan, and they have no Bishop for most of the season, at least a large portion of it. And their scoring depth really isn't that great. Ben and Radulov had kind of down years last year, and I could say maybe one of them has a bounce back. Pavelski was really good in the playoffs. How will he do in the regular season is the big question. And their blue line is really, really good, but their scoring is probably going to take a pretty big hit considering that you don't have Sagan, their number 1 center. And the goaltending now is the big question because you have Khudobin, who was a really great story in the playoffs and was really good, but the backup is Ottinger, who is a very unproven goaltender. So, yeah, that's I have Dallas just making it in, but I can really see Nashville taking Dallas's spot if they really don't do that well. And then at number 3, we have Columbus. I have a lot of faith in Columbus, actually. I think Columbus is better now that they've added Max Domi. I think that they're gonna be a pretty good team this year. They still have Korpisalo, they still have Merzlikins. The real question is just their forward scoring. I think their forward scoring is be better this year, especially if they have Liam Foudy in the lineup. And Dubois actually starts scoring. That is, if he doesn't get traded. So I think Columbus will take number 3, and then number 1 and number 2 flip flopped. Especially after it came out that Kucherov was going to be out for this season. But then at number 2, I have Tampa Bay. I still think Tampa Bay is an incredible team, but they lost Kucherov and they lost Paquette in a cap dump. So it's gonna be tough for them to repeat. I know they just won the Stanley Cup, but I mean they still have Sergachev, they still have Hedman, they still have McDonough on the blue line, and then they have Stamkos, Point, and Palat up front. So I don't really see them taking that much of a step back. I just think that they're not the best team regular season wise in their division. Which means at number 1 we have the Carolina Hurricanes. The big question will still be goaltending, even though their goaltending really wasn't that bad this regular season. But Reimer's getting older, and Mrazek's not the youngest guy either. So, and especially with how many games we're gonna play in such a short amount of time, it's gonna be tough. But I can see Carolina pulling out the division. Now, what really has Carolina at number 1 is I think that they're the most complete team, offensively and defensively, of all of these teams. You have Sebastian Aho still. Svechnikov could take his huge step this year and become a point-a-game player. And Necas could, take a big step too. They still have Teravainen, and then on the blue line, you still have Dougie Hamilton and Slavin and Pesce. So their defense is going to be pretty good still. I think Slavin got kind of chipped for a Norris nomination because I know he wasn't the biggest point producer, but he is great defensively. So yeah, I have Carolina at number 1. But yeah, Anyways, guys, that is it for this video. If you have any predictions for this division, what are yours? Leave them in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you next time.